Hey, good ribbit, everyone, and welcome to Frogland's Town Hall. Thank you for hopping in. This is the monthly public retrospective for Good Ribbit Productions, the company behind the Notorious Frogs of Frogland. We are here today to review our progress, discuss the past month of development, and touch on some of the planning for the upcoming months. In this meeting, we'll take a look at the project as a whole, discuss any challenges we have encountered, and identify areas for improvement. We will also be discussing our plans for the future of the project and brainstorming new ideas with our community to build upon our success. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback. As a high-level overview, we are Good Ribbit Productions. We are a Web3 entertainment studio, and we believe that the blockchain technology will transform the way people work and experience life in the emerging digital economy. We're a passionate team with a diverse background, and we like to build fun, compelling experiences with a focus on games, puzzles, and adventure in the quirky world. Over the past 2.5 years now, we have
It's been
achieved significant.
two. Yeah,
It's been two, yeah. I was
it's
thinking
been
it's been
two.
at least that much. So over the past 2 years, we have achieved significant progress together with our community. As a refresher for those who know and those who don't, in August of 2021, we released the 10,000 NFTs of the Notorious Frogs of Frogland, mischievous humanoid frog character avatars for the metaverse of New Pangea. Alongside some of the greats from Sony's flagship London team under a new company called Dream Reality Interactive, or DRI, we developed a thick client, high fidelity demo full of community generated content as a proof of concept or a vertical slice of our world. The Dragonfly Social Club was released to our holders in December of 2021 after only 90 days of wicked fast dev, and now acts as a shared persistent social space and test environment. The Dragonfly has also since had several updates, including Web3 wallet login, NFT loading, private rooms, public instancing, and a whole lot more. Furthermore, each Notorious Frog needed a home, a lily pad, or personal access domain, a plot of land in Frogland. As thanks to our community, we delivered a free claim of 10,000 land synthesis devices in addition to the sale of 2,500 more to onboard new members. Each land synthesis device represents ownership of a plot of land in one of the 7 biomes in Frogland, which we have constructed as 7 WebGL environments for our users to have as their own private instances. We also produced a pilot episode of a short format serial drama, sourcing the characters, story, audio, vocal talent, music, and art as another proof of concept for co-creation. We have launched our first mission in a series of smaller game experiences as a way to onboard new users to the world, gameplay, and blockchain in a tutorial-like manner. Total Recall includes Web3 wallet and MetaMask login with ENS, NFT avatar selections, and supports NFT loading for player avatars, social login and auto wallet creation and management for non-Web3 users, item and token collection in-game, and can be claimed via our custom Discord bot at no cost to the user, and transfer those off-chain tokens into on-chain tokens. We also have ENS login and ENS leaderboards, integrated user-generated content, and the start of a crafting economy, collecting on-chain items, claiming through our custom Discord bot, community-generated content, and much more as we move towards a public release in the future. Along the way, we've developed a code and software infrastructure to support an on- and off-chain game economy, including resource tokens, land ownership, questing, puzzles, craftable items, and more, and created opportunities for community members to learn new skills, improve, participate, and contribute to the ongoing development process. It's also worthy of note that the Total Recall did win the Consensus Accelerator program for our NFT avatars and onboarding, and I think it was revolutionizing on-chain identity. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So, with our community, we have a rich and compelling world filled with quests, puzzle, lore, discovery, and most importantly, fun. By utilizing blockchain technology to create a persistent user state across Discord, Mac, PC, and web browser with more game states to come, we are producing content in a truly decentralized manner, elevating and empowering artists and creators and providing access and opportunity to all who hop in the pond. So for our past month's retrospective, we kind of have a lot to go over, even though it was kind of a bit of a slower month. What do you
Right,
think?
right. I think last time we did one of these, we talked about taking a break, and we did that for sure. But also, like, it's kind of interesting how much we were able to get done by like slowing down. I think, at least for me, it's the past couple of years have been a bit of a challenge just because we've been trying to build so much stuff so fast. And like, we've built all of these cool things, but we haven't really taken the opportunity to slow down and look at from a high level and like what it means. And so, we did a lot of that this year, and that led to some, some really interesting things that we're about to get into. I think, for me, I think the same is true for you too, Lolly. Like, this is like, I took my first like actual week off, and like since the pandemic started, I had a trip planned to go to Japan in like December of 2020 that never happened. And then, we've done some traveling for work and, pleasure and things like that. But this is really the first time I've gone like a week without touching a computer, which is pretty great, right? It's about the same for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I was due for my week off after working a year at my previous job, right around April of right when lockdown started. So it had been a while.
Yeah, and we're that's still a little bit ongoing, right? So we're it's just the two of us today because most of the other team is doing family stuff today. Gamabunta's got his brother in town. It's the first time that they've actually seen each other in about 3 years, like, and spent more than a few days together, which is really cool. I know Shriv and Bugs both have been spending some family time, and Snoop and Dee Dee as well. But they've also been doing a lot of traveling, a lot of work stuff. But yeah, I think like one of the things that we've realized is, I guess we've kind of known this for a while, but it's difficult for us to do so much and go so fast. And so when we were thinking about everything that we've been doing, what we realized was that we have a cadence to all of the projects that we work on and everything that we're building here. And, that starts with research. That research is, looking at the technology, the branding, the product stuff of what we want to build, trying to conceptualize that, doing the primary development for that, and, doing a really hard push to get that out and ship it into the community. And then distribution, right? And focusing on telling everybody about what we've done, what we're doing, and trying to grow the community and the audience and everything. And then after that, doing some decompression and taking a break and reflecting on what was done and where we're going next. And this is a pattern that I've used in software engineering for years, and we're going to be implementing that. And so I think what that really means is like a couple of times a year, we're going to have a couple of slow months. We're going to slow down, look at things from a higher level strategic perspective, and then we're going to have a couple of months every year where there's like a really hard push to ship something really cool and get it out there into people's hands. This is something I think that's going to help us with sustainability, and being able to keep a high bar of quality up and keep things moving along, week in and week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. So do you want to talk a little bit about what some of the stuff that we've been doing? We broke this out into some categories. The next thing we had here was spreading the word of the frog, right? That was something that happened big this month. Do you want to talk about some of the stuff that Snoop's been working on?
I can show that if you give me a minute.
Yeah, I'll talk. Yeah. So, Lolly and myself went out to LA earlier this month, just last week, and Snoop spent some time in Lisbon, Portugal, right, which is where Gamabunta is, and then went to ECC to show off the Curve reality device and the Tilt 5 glasses, working with that. And so we got a quick little demo here because I think this is important to show. If you want to go ahead and do the thing. Yeah, so this is one of the use cases that we've come up with for this, which is being able to bring these glasses using the Curve device, which is portable, into a gallery setting, right? And if we just wait here, he's just going to put these things on, and oh hey, what do you know?
Looks familiar.
Yeah, right. Right, it's definitely awesome. So like this is just a little snippet of showing how the relationship between all of these different companies and projects makes sense, right? Where Curve and Satchabeats, the community that's supporting it, are very much focused on the hardware and bringing in a group of content creators and technical creators and things like that, and trying to showcase that and develop that community. And where Good Ribbit and Frogland is the primary production studio for creating that content, building things first party, and developing things at a pretty high level where we can showcase all of the work that we've been doing, the work that our community is doing here, using this as a distribution mechanism. But of course, like, from the perspective of Good Ribbit and Frogland, Curve really is just like one, albeit very exciting distribution platform, but it's just one. And so I think you've got another demo here of or a couple more things, right? So yeah, go ahead and hit play on that one.
So this is one of the biomes that we just got working on the same hardware. One of the ones that we had originally built in the WebGL for a web browser, we now have running on Curve and on the Tilt 5 software or hardware.
Yeah, and so the idea here with this one is that we're messing with the camera a little bit because we want this one when you have the glasses on and you're in a physical space to have this feel like you're looking into, like, out a window into the Frogland biome, so we can kind of break down that fourth wall, right? Which is really cool. And then do you want to show the next one here too, right?
Yep. And then this last one is. It should be here. Yep. We got Total Recall up and playing on an iPad, I believe. iOS device, right?
Yeah, it's running on an iPad. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about distribution as we get later into the call, but that's a primary focus for us is using this game as a means of making sure that all of the technical pieces are in place for us to be able to do automated deployments onto these different platforms, getting into different stores on different platforms so that we can actually distribute all of the content that we're building and that you guys are building. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Snoop is also out at SIGGRAPH in Los Angeles this week. There's a booth out there, and with that booth, we have the opportunity to host people. I think he said he had unlimited tickets. I'm not sure if that's just like exactly what that means, but if anybody's in the LA area this week and you want to go to SIGGRAPH and you want to get out on the show floor and see what's going on and check this out, maybe hang out with some of our advisors who are going to be there in the room too, please reach out and we'll get you connected with a ticket and you can come and you can check the stuff out for yourself in person.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that I know Snoop was really wanted to make sure he got across, is that, like, if you're around in LA and there for that conference, like, reach out, one of us, ping someone on Discord, and we'll get you in the door there.
Yeah, this stuff is really cool. It's funny because we've been working on this for years now, right? And it didn't start to feel real for me until I got that device in my hands, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so awesome, right? Just because there's just been so many different moving parts, and really in the past 6 months or so, we've been trying to stitch all those things together, and we're very much deep in that process of stitching things together and working with what we already have. But it was really cool to see that actually working. And I just got my Tilt 5 glasses last week. Actually, I haven't had a chance to set them up yet, but I'm looking forward to playing with that.
You have your dev kit too, right?
Yeah, I have a dev kit as well, and so I'm looking forward to being able to screw around with it and get some of this content on there and see how that works. There's a specific SDK, and there's a lot more that we're going to be doing with this through the future, so you guys will see a lot more of it.
Mm-hmm. And it's also kind of, maybe this is the right time to kind of point this out as well, but throughout the past 2 years, for the most part, we've only really seen the other founders in person. Like, I mean, I think I've seen Snoop and Dee Dee the most often, probably, and I've Snoop 3 times and Dee Dee twice in real life. So there's a lot of work that happens in kind of very decentralized and kind of disparate processes, and it makes it really reinvigorating to make sure that, like, we were able to, like, be there, like, with the other humans that we're working with and building this with in the room, not only for, like, our founders in and amongst our team and everyone that we work with there, but also with different community members, and being able to, like, meet Sapo again out in LA, which I think is where we're going to next.
Yeah, Great segue, actually. So we went out to Los Angeles to spend a week out there. And before we get into talking about Sapo and everything there, like, Bugs came down and we got to see Bugs in person for the first time in probably almost a year, I think, or it's been a year, right?
Yeah.
And so that was awesome. And of course we just we had some partnerships and meetings and things like that. Trying to just spread the word of the frog, basically. But one of the more interesting ones was we met with the founders of a shoe startup called Factory Lab, and these guys, Omar and Abi, are friends and partners of ours, and they're running an innovation lab in downtown LA. Omar is the former head of Adidas's innovation lab, and he was responsible for developing and managing the relationship with Kanye for Yeezys, and so what they're doing out there is they've set up a small studio in Los Angeles where they can 3D print shoes on the ground there. They're building these things with 3D modeling tools, and they have a number of different supply chain relationships with organizations in Southeast Asia, America, the Americas, North and South, and whatnot. And so it's a really, really cool vibe there. They're doing some really, really great work, and we're looking to see what we can do as far as like wearables with these guys and see if there's something there. So it's pretty exciting. Fun. I really enjoyed that day, spending the day in the office.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I thought was actually like very providential, I think, was walking in there and seeing this up on their wall, like if you build it, they will come, which has basically been our like operating ethos
Yeah,
since day one, which I
yeah,
thought,
yeah, and I mean, Omar and Avi are both just like really, really great guys, right? Like just super, super
yeah,
genuine, super knowledgeable about the shoe space and business and everything. Like, so yeah, they're, we're definitely rooting for their success.
yeah, for sure. And so I
Yeah.
think,
So
sorry, go ahead.
you want to talk a little bit about supporting the community and Sapa Studios in Los Angeles
Yes.
and all that.
Yes, yes. So one of our primary initiatives with going out to LA over last week, 2 weeks ago, was to kind of help solidify some of these partnerships that we've been working on and developing for the past 2 years. So Sapa Studios now has a new location where they're going to be producing their shows live from every week. They have, due to our relationships with the projects, the Party Animals and Metanoise, where Party Animals is essentially like a ticketing platform where if you are one of the artists on like within their community and you have one of their NFTs, you have a token, you can always get into those events or those galleries with that artist. And it's a really cool way of kind of making sure that you don't like you as one of their like original core fans, core believers can still get access to those artists or to those events, and not be essentially priced out when they get really popular. Like you'll always have that access, and like you don't necessarily need to use it, but it's there if you need it.
Mhm.
And Metanoise is similarly a brand and kind of awareness activist group. Alpha group might be another way of framing it, but I feel like that's not quite as descriptive as it needs to be.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
they basically ended up with,
curation,
yeah,
curation and showcasing different things that are happening in the space, right, between these two things. And so they set up the art department together, which is this physical location, off of the Sunset Strip in West Hollywood, where we're going to have a physical presence, a Frogland physical presence there for the time being, which is pretty exciting.
mhm, yeah. So we went out there and we ended up having our meeting with Omar and Avi, and then had the Sapo guys come out and meet us at the art department, and we hadn't really told them much about where we were meeting or why we were choosing to meet there. But it's like the perfect gallery. I'll show some pictures in a minute, but I want to make sure I can still have my notes on screen when I need them. But we have it's like right on the border of the Sunset Strip where the residential turn or the zoning turns from business to residential, and so there's like a ton of foot traffic that goes past every day. There's like a couple cafes right across the street, and then there are houses on the opposite side where people are living. So getting that traffic across every day, and them hosting artist events and galleries everything has just been already, I mean, in like the month, I think that it's been live, maybe 2 months. They've already got brought in so many interesting people and gotten a whole lot of proof of concept of the entire like the real life experiences and the physical location and how much that matters to these types of communities. And I think that's really going to make things really, really special and make it really important as we keep moving forward in the future.
Yeah, you want to show off some pictures and?
Yeah, I was gonna say keep chatting through that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, obviously, like these are good partners of ours that we've known for a long time, and we're going to have a presence here. We're going to be supporting them. They're going to be supporting us, and just kind of helping each other out. But I think what's important here in this whole process that I want to highlight is that this is really an example or showcase of how we see ourselves as far as being a steward of the Frogland brand and helping members of the community develop their own IP, their own projects, and their own potential revenue streams, right? Like we see ourselves as building first-party content with games and fun, and kind of shepherding that along. But really, we want this organization to be a coalition or an agency of sorts, where there's a lot of different organizations, big and small, that are working on this project with this project to make things happen, and wherever we can help make that a reality or connect different disparate parts of the organization to other parts of the organization, help you guys with resources, legal support, things like that. I love that guy, Keith. Yeah, these guys are really fun. So like this is, I hope this serves as a kind of a beacon or a lighthouse of the types of things that we can do for other people. So if you have other projects that, you guys are thinking about doing, like we're all ears, we want to hear about it. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah. And so I ended up getting a lot of footage so this was Saturday. So we met the Sapo guys with Bugs there and with Keith. I think that was Wednesday, it must have been. And then this was Saturday, right before Sapo was getting ready to start Scratch Track Saturdays upstairs. And they had Scratch Track Saturdays, which they recorded and hosted live from the upstairs of the building. And then downstairs, while all that was going on, everyone down here was setting up an art gallery for one of the guys that we saw right at the beginning with the hat on the left currently. His name is Adam Vlux. He is also now a Notorious frog holder and was one of the guests on Sapo's show that day. And kind of just the whole setup process of getting that gallery and everything built and designed at the same time as Sapo Studios is going and doing their thing was pretty cool. And being able to kind of like, again, utilizing the artist talents and what they want to be selling and who they want to be putting themselves out to in the world, and being able to kind of help them market that, create that environment, create a place where their communities can find them. I think is going to be really, really important in keeping and starting these physical locations going.
Yeah, cool. Let's keep moving. We're going to talk about game dev and updates and things like that too. If you want to, I mean, we can just kind of flip through some of those things if you want. But Total Recall, obviously, we mentioned we're working on distribution. Honestly, the iPhone and Android stuff has slowed down just a little bit, just because we've been focused on getting things running on the Tilt 5 and the Curve for the VR AR stuff. Just because it demos really, really well. But our strategy with the game and all the games that we're building really has been to build directly into the community, gives you guys access to things very early, use tokens and blockchain technology as a way to incentivize play, get people to help us with feedback, beta testing, focus grouping, contributing content, IP, lore, items, story, all that type of stuff, all the stuff that we've been doing for the past couple of years. But really, our main goal is to get this out into the hands of a wider audience who maybe doesn't really care that much about the blockchain rails that everything's running on. And so in order to do that, we've got to get into, the traditional distribution mechanisms for video games, which on mobile is, the Apple and the Android stores and, Steam and Epic and all these things. So that That process is ongoing. It might seem like it's simple, but there's actually a lot of legal things that we have to work through there. Each one of these stores has very specific requirements around the types of assets for screenshots and keys for signing the software packages and making sure everything's built securely, automating that stuff. But what's really cool is we're using Total as a means of spearheading all of this stuff. But once we get all that infrastructure set up, it just gets easier and easier and easier for us to do these distributions every time we need to do them, right? And so that's been a focus this month. The AI character bots as well, something we were talking about last week. We've made some progress on that. One of the development tasks that we completed was related to session and state management, and that gives us what we built was the ability to be able to partition a conversation between you and an AI chatbot, and what that means as a feature or a future feature really is that there's a kind of a sliding scale of how knowledgeable the bots are to who's talking to them and how much they change. And what I mean by that is that on one side of that scale, we can make one instance of a bot where everyone is talking to the same, bartender, and the cumulative value of all of those things get saved into its long-term memory, and you guys can influence that character together as part of a team sport, whether you want to, build up its confidence or break it down or play with it in order to, get some particular outcome in a game, right? That sounds really, really fun to me because there's coordination and competition amongst teams in that piece of it. And then on the other end of the spectrum is that where it's, multi-instance in the sense where each one of you, whenever you're talking to that bot, you're talking to your own instance. And so it's only going to know about your history and the conversation that you've had. And so its personality is not going to take in the context of what's happening out in the world immediately right now. And so that also gives us the ability to have more curated one-on-one experiences and relationships with these characters that can evolve over time. And so that just kind of enables a lot of flexibility with the way that we're going to build these things into the different products that we're making. Mm-hmm. I think it's cool personally. Right.
I think it's ridiculously insane.
Yeah, it's fun. Do you want to talk a little bit about the creator tools and some of the other things?
Yes, but I do want to make sure I kind of with screen sharing, I lost sight of my notes a little bit, so I want to make sure I don't get too far away from that. But really quick, I just also want to touch on Sapo Studios does now have 3 new sponsors from this partnership for their show. I think they are Spirit Punks. I'm going to butcher the name. I think it's Talago, which is a vodka seltzer, a tequila seltzer, and then also oh yes, yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. And then they were just picked up a sponsorship from a weed company as well. And similarly to how they're hosting Sapo Studios there every week, they will also be hosting events. I think they're starting with monthly, and then be running them potentially more often than that, depending on how everything goes. But their first event is on August 19th, and they have their current lineup is Doll Machine, Danny Klein, the Avant Guardians, Guapo, Cheyenne, and Prems, which I know at least 4 of those are artists who have already been on Sapo Studios in the early days. Cheyenne and Prems were both on, while Froggy Digital and I were both there with Sapo Studios on site. But I think this is going to be another really good opportunity to get some of these artists who are just haven't had the right moment of timing to be discovered or to find the right person to get their media out onto a much wider platform. And I think this is going to be a really, really good opportunity to be able to do that for them, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
And so then back onto creator tools, back onto schedule.
Yeah, sure. I'll take the AI image models one. So AI Blocks has been getting some support and some love from DDMX, and we're working on a few new models to add in there, and refining some of the existing ones. But there's one thing I wanted to just highlight, and I can't talk about this too much because it's super early, but we've been working with another partner to streamline the way that infrastructure works on the technical side, to make it cheaper, frankly, for us to do it, but we're looking to get these models running on lower powered devices and make them easier to propagate around, so that way we can just have more of them, open up access to these things to help us with the training process, because there's a very specific way to do all of this stuff where it produces good results. And so we'll be sharing some of that stuff in the coming months. But yeah, we're hoping to have it running on relatively performant on lower power devices like laptops, maybe even Curve at some point soon, in order to do things without an internet connection. So I'm not sure what the time frame is on that. It could be months, frankly, but it's something that we're kind of excited about and is on the radar. Do you want to talk about the narrative and lore framework? I know it's something you've been working on a lot recently.
Yeah, definitely. I think I teased a little bit of this out in the Magic Guild public spaces that we had 3 days ago, I think now. But a lot of what we've been doing internally has been trying to collect all of the information that we have from the community, from our own visions of how the Frogland project and the world and everything is going to feel and what it's going to be about, and kind of that core ethos and that core soul that we're basically trying to build everything around. Because kind of the biggest problem, at least the way that I see it, in the world, whether that's going to be digital world or physical world, as the way that we interact with the physical world through digital devices like phones, iPhones, computers, whatever, is going to be the ability to keep the soul and keep the heart of whatever it is that you're trying to interact with real. Because AI can make a whole lot of shit and it looks really cool, like especially for on first blush. But what makes it cool, at least in my opinion, is the creator who started that and the person who had a very specific vision when they went into it and were able to keep working with the AI until they got that vision out. And especially when we're talking about things like AI NPCs and people who are like characters who might have like a paragraph of content that came from a human originally, but now might be operating off of like that paragraph of content and then like 300 hours of random people interacting with it and potentially changing how it interacts, and being able to keep that heart and soul true to that vision and make sure that it's still representative of something that could actually be an evolution of that character in that world, and not just something that's gone way off the walls because of external forces onto it, is going to be really important. And part of that has involved the narrative and lore framework that we've been doing, being able to kind of distill everything down into one core vision and then have that vision echo out across different planes, whether those are different characters that you interact with in the world as a user, whether those are different environments that you're in, either game environments or physical environments, or challenges that you're presented with, or even just like what type of media you want in front of you to have the option to purchase. There's a lot of different complexities there that if we lose sight of that core narrative of like, it's like in Frogland, for example, like we are here because we want to make fun and we want to make connections with others. And if we can do that, then everything else, like all that material and that kind of like legwork and the stuff that an AI can help with, can be built and still feel authentic. And so being able to kind of work with Bugs and with Shrimp on that and make sure that like that authenticity is right there in the heart of it all is going to make it really easy to kind of be able to take that same package, take that authentic kernel and be like, okay, here you guys go. This is the part that you guys need to focus on and need to be orbiting around and then build out from. And that's something that I think we're going to be able to start releasing here in the next few months, and giving out to people in like kind of a little nice little packages to kind of start your own work on and be able to kind of take and create your own things with which I think is going to be, that's going to be really,
Yeah.
really exciting to get that out the door.
Yeah, I mean that was a lot of like pretty abstract stuff that you were just talking about, and I think I have a concrete example in mind that came to mind while you were talking, and so the as an example here, the use of aliens and alien conspiracies in our project, right? Like that's kind of taken a center stage. People really seem to like it. They contribute to that part of it, and that was something that had always been there when we first started the project of like having a curved device found next to a tree next to a dead alien, right? We kind of seeded that, but we didn't really expect that to go down the path of like abductions and conspiracy theories and things like that have just been like running rampant in the Discord for the past year. And so like when it came time to decide how we were going to build the level for total for the first level, that escape from the alien spaceship as part of the core story ended up coming from the community, really, right? Like we ended up developing that together based on different interactions with different people and just seeing like what was going on, and that's what felt right. And so what I think what Lolly's talking about here is that like that core that we've been creating together is strong enough now, I think, that there's a clear and specific identity to it, right? And what we've been working on with the this narrative and lore framework that we've been working on for about a year now at this point has really been around making sure that we capture that center and that we're distilling down different values and mechanics and things like various religious philosophies around the naked frogs and things like that are all types of things that you guys have already contributed, and turning that into something that's coherent, right? And making that easier for people to digest and interact with, so that way when you want to go and create a character, and you're new into this world, or maybe you're experienced and you've been here but you want to like do a refresh or something, you've got a handful of different archetypes that you can pull from, and you've got examples, so that you're not always just starting from scratch. You can use some of the creative cues and strokes and things like that are like, I don't want to say pre-approved, but are like pre-defined in order for to actually be able to work with the world. So it makes it easier to slot them in and be able to tell stories that where you have differences of different character types that have different motivations and things like that, and not have to have a degree in story writing in order to be able to do that, right? Like this has really been about distilling down a lot of the skills and experience that Bugs and Shrimp have culminated over the years of working in Hollywood into something that is digestible, to make that easier for people like myself to consume that. So yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. It's really close to us being able to share some of that stuff more. I know you guys have probably seen the Miro board at one point, but yeah, that I think is going to help with what comes next, and which kind of leads us into the next thing. But before we jump into talking about what's coming up in the future, more than what we've done in the past, do we want to reset here a little bit and talk about?
Yeah.
Do you want to just do a quick break of the intro?
Yes. Yeah. Just want to do quick room reset for anyone who may be joining us a little bit later. But we just wanted to. So we are Good Ribbit Productions. We are a Web3 entertainment studio and production house operating on blockchain technology and building the future creator economy in an emerging digital economy centered around creators. Somehow that sounded better in my head than it did. This is why I write things down. But we are a passionate and diverse team we're a passionate team with a diverse background, and we like to build fun, compelling experiences with a focus on games, puzzles, and adventure in the quirky world. So a lot of what we've been doing for the past 2 years is probably kind of the high points are building a thick client that is fully Web3 enabled. It is wallet login, NFT loading. You can create public and private instances, has spatial audio. It's a thick client running on Mac and PC that has been out with, I think, over 110 or so pieces of user-generated content that we got out the door 90 days after we originally launched the NFTs. We produced a short format pilot episode of a short format serial drama. We also got a 10,000 free claim NFT for our land synthesis devices, or like the devices in which you interact with the world. Like a good way to think about that is kind of like the Sheik slate in Legend of Zelda, or the what's the thing from Fallout that you interact with
Oh, the
to
Pip
like
Boy. Yeah, yeah, but
yeah
that's leaking product design now.
yep
Yeah, we haven't quite talked about all that stuff just yet, but
yeah
yeah, we should. Yeah, I think it's probably easy to say like we're Frogland and we like to build cool shit, right?
yeah
I see there's a couple of questions in here too that were
yeah
coming up about specifically about iOS and Total Recall. And so the short answer is like, yes, we need to have we want the game to be running on a mobile phone. The longer answer is, in addition to some of the distribution stuff that I was talking about having to work through, there's actually a gameplay consideration that's important in here. And so the width of the screen, we found during play testing, it actually becomes easier to play the game if it's on a widescreen versus a portrait. And so that's one of the reasons that it's pinned to portrait right now. And we chose the aspect ratio that we have is because we knew we were going to go to tablets, and we knew that we were going to go to the Curve device in particular. And so one of the things that we're considering internally is breaking out the leaderboards for mobile versus other platforms, because it's kind of a completely different play experience when you're playing on a mobile phone with your thumb versus when you're playing on a computer with a keyboard and a mouse, right? And so those sorts of things are things that are under consideration before we end up launching this. But yeah, the game definitely runs on a mobile phone. We can run it on an iPad. We can run it on an iPhone. It runs on Android. It can run on an Xbox if we wanted to. Pretty much we built it in Unity, so it's anywhere that Unity can deploy to, which is a lot of places. So
on the same
you want
line, touching on again kind of that the high points of all the things that we've built. We had also built 7 demos of each of the Frogland biomes and environments, which then we have here running on the Tilt 5 hardware. And if you wanted to kind of give that run through again, Matt.
Oh yeah, so this is the biomes exist right now and this is kind of getting into like what we're doing next type stuff. So the biomes have been like built into a playable state for about a year now, and internally we've been working with them, messing with the cameras, messing with the procedural generation in these levels, so that we can provide uniqueness, figuring out how to do that stuff kind of at a scale that makes sense, so that there's a reason for people to come into the biome. And this is one example of that, where on the Tilt 5 glasses with Curve, we want that to feel like a window where as the glasses move around, it looks like you're looking, inside or outside, as a means of just showcasing this inside of an art gallery. But there is a way for us to do kind of a pop-up 3D way of messing with this, which we'll see through Total Recall at some point, because that's one of the things that we're working on right now, is trying to get Total onto this, which I was hoping to have done for today, but it's looking like it's going to take another week or two to get that done. Yeah, and then we've got this the Samurai Frog over here, who is showcasing how avatars can work using this technology and how you can interact with them on a wall, which is pretty cool.
And I think that's, if I'm correct, that's the demo that Snoop has right now at SIGGRAPH in LA.
Yes.
If anyone is local to LA and wants to go and stop by and see that in person, please do reach out to any one of us. Snoop has tons of tickets that he can give away to get people into the gallery. So just let one of us know, and we'll get you set up.
Well, it just so happens that's at the Morrison Hotel, because it says it on the wall. Cool. Okay, so man, for taking a month off, we got a lot done. But looking forward to what's coming next. A lot of this, for people who've been with us for a while, is going to just be reinforcement for some of the things that we've been working on, some new details, and then for anybody new, this is the way that we work. So our core focus, number one focus, is building a strong community. It's the single most important thing that we do. Without you guys here, we've got nothing. So we really, really take that seriously, and making sure that people are having a good time, that we're building a supportive environment where people actually want to spend time and hang out. And so if you have any suggestions or feedback, anything to to do that, to help us do that better, we are all ears. In line with that, we are working on building a stronger physical presence in the real world, right? Starting with Los Angeles and the roots we have there and the network for the project. It just kind of makes sense to start there. And then we want to replicate that into a number of different places. New York City is being another big one, but there's a lot of people who support the project who are in the Midwest, and Lolly and I are both from different parts of Ohio, and I think it's really important that we get some contingencies out there so that people have a means to interact face to face if you want to, and not just have to have everything be virtual. And then, of course, internationally, Europe, like we have a presence in Europe, so building that. But I think what's important is, over the course of the next year, this is going to be a focus for us, just making sure that we're building these, continuing to build in-person connections, but then also providing better opportunities for people to just come and hang out and, enjoy each other's company virtually. I think, retrospectively, and what this is, we haven't done the best job of just providing like open space for people to just chill. And so, we want to explore that too and see how we can, make the metaverse fun, that sort of thing. So, that's coming down the pipeline. Do you have anything you want to add to the building strong community section?
I think it's something that I don't know that we as a society ever really lost sight on. But I do think that when we were all forced into the digital world pretty much exclusively during the pandemic and lockdown, it made us a little bit more willing to kind of find people and find connections that way. And then as soon as everything kind of lifted, and especially as like the market did its thing and crashed and everything started to seem a little bit more out of reach, it's very easy to kind of lose yourself into that feeling of like, okay, like what was I taught when I was fucking like in third grade, like stranger danger, like don't talk to people on the internet. But there's a lot of authenticity that can be felt in person, and like meeting people at events, even if it's only for a day, that like you're not going to get as well virtually. And you can get there, but especially with like the AI, like how much you're able to tell or feel sure that you're not just being worked is really challenging. And so being able to kind of put roots down in cities that we already have networks in, and cities that we have community members in with networks, like that's going to be, I think, really important to giving this the type of legs that it's gonna go for as long as I know that we all want it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we want to support communication modalities in person and digital, and give people opportunities to do both, right? And so by having like on the ground physical consistent presences in different places that are kind of hotspots, so eventually, hopefully, everyone who wants to will be able to go and get to experience something in person, right? Like we want that to happen because we want to meet you guys, like we want to hang out. So, supporting content creators. So that's building a strong community. It's a major thing for us, is just making sure that we're giving you guys what you need to have a good time, right? Supporting content creators and IP holders is another major objective and goal for us. So like we want to connect the Web3 content creators, of which there are many here, with the Web3 tech creators, right? And so that's our blending of hardware and software and brand and IP management and all these different things. Everything that we've been working towards is in support of this. And so in order to do that, like we want to help you guys develop your own intellectual property that you own, so that we can use it and we can showcase it and help drive revenue for you, right? And so that's characters, environments, stories, concepts, games, puzzles, artwork, you name it, right? Like, our job is to help facilitate whatever it is that you guys want to do. And so in order to do that, we are also building all these different tools that we've been working on, like AI blocks, AI tools and things like that to make it easier for people who may not necessarily be artistic to be able to create cool and compelling art using the AI is one thing. Templates is another one, right? Like we have a lot of templates. We've got software development kits that have been in the works for a while that are getting close to being ready to share publicly, so that you can program against our games and use our smart contract infrastructure and all of these things. Training is another big one, right? So we've done some sessions with Bugs and Shrimp where we've walked through some basic 3D modeling and texture mapping and those sorts of things. We want to pick that stuff back up, coming into the fall, as there's an audience for it and people are interested in it. Business, licensing, legal, connecting people, all these sorts of things, are things that I think that we can help with, and are also like, if you have expertise in these places and want to help other people in the community, let us know. We are a small and scrappy team, and so like we can always use the help. And so if you know how to do something very specific and you want to help others, that will help. That just knowing that will make it easier for us to connect you to the right people, right? So basically just, reach out. And if you've got a project in mind or something that you want to do with Frogland, with the brand and using your IP and your characters, let us know, and we'll help you develop that, and whatever resources we can dedicate to it, we will. Obviously, we're not super flush with cash because it's a bear market, but we do know a lot of people. We've got some really, really strong, awesome, amazing relationships with people in the industry who are real humans, right? Who are here and building for all the right reasons. And our network is your network, basically. So, is there anything else you wanted to say about supporting content creators and IP holders?
I think just that anything that we can do and is reasonable and not horrifically hurtful to other humans, then we're going to help you do that. anything that we can do, that we will do. And don't be afraid to approach us with an idea, because we want to help.
Yeah. Cool. So, the other major thing that we're focused on is developing sustainable revenue, right? We want this project to keep going. And so, we believe pretty strongly that in order for us to be able to do that, we need to build products that appeal to people outside of Web3, right? And so for us, that's games, right? Primarily games. And so that's the everything that I talked about distributing content through traditional media platforms is the way that we can do that. Shipping Total Recall at first, and then some of the other games that we have in the works, and getting them into people's hands, and getting other people playing them, so that we can start that top of the funnel sort of thing, right? And get turn people into audience members, and then eventually bring them into community members, and then content contributors, and give people a way to just a bunch of different ways to experience the project, and to support both us in the primary development and all of the other projects that are going on in the space. The other way that we're doing this is through developing a diverse token economy, right? So internally in the community, and especially for the versions of the games that we're building, where we're asking for people's help to beta test these things, this is all driven by tokens, right? And so I think some of you probably heard me mention before, but I'll say it again. The objective here is for us to create a number of different gameplay experiences where we build games that appeal to different audience types, right? So the Infinite Runner that we have now, puzzle games, resource management games, roguelikes, action games, RPGs, all these different things appeal to different types of audience members. And each one of our games consumes different tokens from other games and produces tokens that are consumed in other games. And so if you want to be able to compete at a high level in these games, then you either have to play them or you have to trade with other people. And so we believe that you're always going to have your favorites. You know what I mean? Some people are going to love Total Recall. Some people are going to love one of the other games that we make. And there's going to be days where you're like, well, I don't really want to go play that other one. I just want to play the one that I like. And so you can go and trade the resources with other people. And then that creates this barter economy, which gets, emergent, volatility out, and it creates a meta. And so that's a primary goal of ours, and that gives us the ability to get that action going, as far as people playing the game, having a good time, and coming back over and over and over again, right? That's really the way that we do this, and then we can figure out how to monetize that in a way that's sustainable without being extractive, right? Another very, very core goal of ours. And so some of the other projects that we're working on, crafting and items. Lolly, if you wanted to take this one, that's something that was big this month and should be in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Magic Guild has kind of been running point on item creation, resources, and how all of those will work in the world. And they've started to move their meetings into the public. So I think we had our first one last Thursday on Twitter Spaces. But especially now that we're kind of getting some of that lore and narrative framework stuff going a little bit more clearly, it's going to be a lot easier to take some of that stuff and kind of that neat little package and give it to the Magic Guild, and then have them be able to um, take that out into the community, and whoever wants to come and wants to join and wants to create something or just throw an idea out there and see what someone else can maybe work that idea into. If they don't really want to do it themselves, or if they would like to, then pop in and contribute, go for it. But I think that's going to be really, really, really important for the density of the game, because like the amount of content that needs to be created is absolutely massive. Like that's
Yeah.
why games like Stardew Valley are so incredibly impressive, because that was all built by a single dev, and like
Yeah.
the depth in that game is really wicked.
Yeah, for many years,
Yeah,
it's awesome, right? And then, but like, conversely to that too, you take something like a large AAA title like Red Dead Redemption that cost, 500
yeah,
plus $1 million with thousands of contributors. I mean, like, we're never going to be in that position to have those types of resources. And frankly, we don't need them because we have blockchain that we can lean on
mhm,
in order to kind of invert that model. I mean, that's what we're really here to do is disrupt the way that stuff happens. And in order to do that, we need entropy in the system. And like what we're trying to showcase with all of this is like you guys coming in here and having fun with this stuff, and basically like building the game is as fun as playing the game. And then we could use all of that material. We can take the best of it and turn it into these compelling experiences that have appeal to a wider audience, right? Like,
yeah,
and if we do that, then like we have every chance of being able to build something that can compete with these larger titles for a fraction of the cost. And in addition to that, like those who are contributing to the project, whether you work for us or not, can share in the success of that. Right, like that's really the goal, is to change and invert the way that those projects are built. And the best way to do that is to just kind of show up here and have a good time, right?
and I think
So
it might be a good time to kind of show off I think the item that we walked away with after Thursday's meeting was a ghillie suit. So if you're in the coastal biome, the idea is that you can collect Spanish moss hanging about on the trees, and if you take that Spanish moss and you craft it with I think there were sticks and paint and clothing items, then you'll end up with a ghillie suit, which then you can like hide and sneak around and go and do some subversive things with. And then being able to kind of tie that in with like, okay, so what if you craft your ghillie suit with some lightning bugs or something that glows, or maybe you use magic to enchant that?
mhm.
Then you'll be able to see in the dark, and then you can like your sneak basically like goes up a level, and you can get much farther into a whole bunch of different things there. And then being able to take that item idea and then interweave it in with the existing lore that we already had in the world, where like right now we have it loosely tentatively structured so that the casino is in the wetlands, which is next to coastland, loosely. And if you meet Waffles in a bar at Horny Toads, and he says something about like, hey, like I'm pretty sure that like you can get yourself a weapon if you like can sneak into the casino and like steal one of the revolvers from Frogface Shilla. Like he was the one who was out there like getting all the guns going around, and being able to like go through that for that quest and that storyline, to then craft yourself a ghillie suit. Maybe you want to go and add magic to it to do work it that way, or however you want to build it out. Like that's kind of one of those ways that we're able to get that type of item creation and creativity going in a collaborative manner like that.
Yeah, it's also a great example of if you want alpha, get involved with the gang because we're working in public, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's cool. So let's keep moving. I know we're kind of running over here. We just got a lot to talk about this month. We're looking at doing an ordinals drop. That's something that was on the radar from last month. We spent a lot of time this month looking at the technology behind ordinals and how it works. Oh, hey, look what we have here.
Hey, Ribbit.
Just in time. I was talking about ordinals, and look who showed up.
My old sense was tingling. Good riddance, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good. How you doing? Looks like the weather is
Yeah, good.
fantastic there.
Oh man, sunny California, I tell you, it never disappoints. So yeah, over here, I've just managed to get back to West Hollywood. We've been setting up the booth for the past few days now. We've been setting up the demos. We have a lot of interesting content that we're going to be showing off. We have a few surprises that we're going to wait until we actually get done before we tell anyone about. But the 8th to the 10th, again, a call out. If there are any frogs in Los Angeles, we get unlimited passes to go to SIGGRAPH. SIGGRAPH, of course, is not a Web3 event. It's a very cool tech event. So
Well, we're turning it into a Web3 event.
we're turning it into a Web3. Well, the thing is, I managed to. So these unlimited passes, I don't think they realize actually how many people I'm going to invite. So literally for the past maybe, I don't know, week and a half, I've just been going to town. Just, hey, you heard of SIGGRAPH? You want a free pass? Come on in, come and join us. So yeah, I've got an army of people that are coming down because my coming plan here is SIGGRAPH is an amazing sort of event. What it is, it's hardcore Web 2 tech. Now, the interesting thing about Web 2 tech, and the thing that boggles my mind, they still haven't figured this out, is that Web 2 tech always needs good content. And the best content creators in the world are all in Web 3. And they haven't realized it yet. And so we've been exploring this through a few interesting ways with Sats, ways to get in front of Web 2 audience when NFTs are considered a bad word now. But Bitcoin, that's not. And that's an interesting one where you have clever tech being built on layer 1 on OG Bitcoin. And so to me, having that and a bunch of nerds who are building tech who need content, we can start to become this bridge to bring these very cool content creators that we have within the Web3 space and start introducing them to Web2 audiences with technology that they've never seen before. And so we can surreptitiously start showing Web3 content to Web2 audiences without them ever knowing. And those people that are interested, then they go down the rabbit hole, or the ribbit hole, I should say, and they find out all of the wonders that the space has to offer. So I'm having a whale of a time because I know these startups, these content creators, these technology platforms that are all evolving, they all need good content. And yet there are so many content creators who need good technology, and the two just haven't met yet. So we want to do everything we can to, of course, attend the Web3 conferences. We've been at Blockdown, we've been at NFC, we've been at ECC over the past month alone, and we've been showing off some, I think some of you have seen some very cool looking Frogland content, some interesting looking frogs. And yeah, overall, it's been very well received. And in fact, the demo that we've been giving over in West Hollywood is in the very prestigious Sunset Marquis Hotel. It is a bit of an interesting place, the Sunset Marquis, and I have a link that I'm going to share with Lolly. Maybe we can do a screen share. Bear with me 1 second.
Yeah, well, we'll just call out. You're way better at explaining this shit than I am.
Well, the thing about ordinals and why I find them absolutely fascinating is it's not just NFTs. It's so much more than that, because what we were promised with NFTs back in the day was immutability, was on-chain, was all of these wonderful things, provenance, and these lovely words that we all rallied around. And unfortunately, that space wasn't necessarily exactly what it turned out to be for a number of reasons. But with all things in crypto, it's cyclical. And with all things in crypto, everything happens again. And it's a rule of thumb, it's 1,000 days between all-time highs. And what you see is an evolution from ICOs evolving into IEOs, IEOs evolving into IDOs. Every cycle, you get the same shape with a slightly different name, slightly better technology. Digital assets were new in 2021. We'd never really seen something like this being adopted on a large scale before. And that was interesting because when we saw this technology in 2021, we saw the wonderful thing that brought us all together, content creators emerging and coming into this new technology space and overcoming friction to create stuff no one had seen before. And we're seeing the exact same thing now on Bitcoin. But it's interesting because Bitcoin is different from Ethereum for a number of ways. Now, if I were to send you 1 ETH, you wouldn't receive the same ETH that left my wallet. But if I were to send you 1 Bitcoin, you would. And that provenance opens up some interesting potentials, whereby you can now track these Satoshis, these smallest denominations of a Bitcoin, to their points of creation. And that is cool because it means these canvases could have some special features or some attributes, as they're known, our namesake for our surreptitious little project to get out in front of a wider audience. And it is cool because this shit is actually on chain. It is actually immutable. And it has this level of collectability, which to me is reminiscent of baseball cards, where people will scrutinize every tiny detail that they can to see what value these things hold. And with Satoshis, I just think it is one of the most interesting pieces of technology because it's not just pictures on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's started at pictures on Bitcoin, where you take a picture, you convert it into base 64, and you'd attach it onto an individual Satoshi for all time. It's like you're scratching a picture into a penny for the rest of the time. But then all of a sudden, what if these pictures that you could draw, what if these code that you could put onto these coins could actually execute and could actually run shit in a browser? And this opens up a whole new potential of recursion and technologies that people are only to devil with.
So I think I can summarize this a little bit. Actually, I hadn't put this in the notes, but so if you think about like what the way that NFTs work on Ethereum, right? They work through a link to IPFS typically, and that's a JSON structure. That's the metadata, right? And that's what shows up. And then so Ethereum hosts that link to that metadata. Or the metadata itself in some cases, but the rendering of that metadata is purely up to the consuming application, right? So like OpenSea or Blur or any of those platforms. And so what it does is it leads to a least common denominator approach. And so there's not a lot of expressivity, but there's a lot of compatibility, right? And the difference with ordinals is that there's still an indexer that has to run. And so, on Bitcoin, you're storing data, right? It doesn't all necessarily have to be on chain. It can be, and in most cases it is by convention. But what's interesting about it is that the indexer, the ordinal software, actually is also responsible for handling some of the rendering. And so you get a lot more expressivity in that. And so the trade-off there is that in order to actually render these things in the way that they're supposed to be, of course, you still have to run this piece of software. There are decentralized ways to do that, of course, but it gives the content creator a lot more control over the way that their art is actually being displayed versus on Ethereum. And so those are two trade-offs that I think are very interesting. And as people are exploring how this stuff works on Bitcoin now and what you can do with it, I'm expecting and hoping to see some really kind of novel and useful and interesting ways that these two things can play together, right? So that's in the research that I've done in the past few months, that's really what I came up with personally. Does that jive with you?
Yep, spot on. And I got to say, it's fascinating because what I'm seeing as well in this space is there are people outside of the NFT world that never were too interested in NFTs who are now spending a lot of time and energy looking into this because it's on base Bitcoin, it's on layer one. And I think that is another bullish sign where what I think we will see over the next 12 months is effectively NFTs 2.0, just named as ordinals. Or in fact, I think ordinals are even a bad word. I think ordinals make you feel stupid when you hear it because it makes you realize you don't know what the fuck they are. And then you figure it out it's on Bitcoin and you're like, oh shit, I even don't know what that is yet. And I really don't know. And so I think it's a word that will probably change from ordinals into something a little more palatable and friendly.
Yeah. I love how like sometimes they use ordinal theory as a means of making it sound smart when really we're talking about putting shit in order.
Honestly, well, I've had a fascinating conversation with a gentleman yesterday that described ordinal number 1, the old crypto dick butt. Which
nice.
His wallet. He's only got 2 ordinals. He's got a crypto dick butt, and he's got inscription 11 and something, which is a good old fact, dude.
Number one first quality always in crypto. I would expect nothing less. If it wasn't a dick butt, I probably would have been disappointed.
Exactly. But it's technology more than anything. Art and creativity is wonderful, but seeing actual real people that do real technology, spending real time and effort and energy to build real infrastructure, it's evolving faster than ETH evolved. I'm going to give you a great example. Ripple. It's been around for too long, basically, but it's been around for a long time, for many years. And it has one wallet for their NFT ecosystem called Zoom, spelled Xuum. Fucking hell, honestly. And you download this mobile app and you spend maybe 45 minutes having to write down this bullshit seed phrase, then you have to type it back in again in the most fucking unuser-friendly way in the world. But that's the only wallet you have. And that's been the case for maybe 5+ years. And then you look at the ordinals and you see in the space of 4 or 5 months, we've already got 3, maybe 4 very good wallets. One that has become the MetaMask, if you will. One's Unisat. The infrastructure that's being developed for specifically this ordinal space is just it's just bloody fast. And I think when you're seeing tech developers figuring this out, and you're seeing artists figuring this out, and then you have people like us who sort of understand the trends of this space is going, and positioning ourselves where we are now working to be the curators for Magic Eden, to be able to find them great art to come onto Bitcoin. It gives us a tremendous advantage to start laying this foundation for what we believe the future of this technology could unfold to. And no one can read the future, but our team has a very good habit of being able to spot trends and move in that direction before a lot of people. So we're exploring, we're doing our R&D, and again, this is the great unknown. We don't exactly know what the fuck's going to happen. We know with ordinals, it is just a new emerging landscape, and with that, we want to make sure that we plant our lovely Frogland flag in the ground nice and early to show what we can do.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely exciting stuff. I mean, obviously, this is also, I think, indicative of the fact that like we're not necessarily married to any one specific blockchain. I mean, Ethereum is going to be running a lot of our gaming infrastructure for a variety of reasons, but it's not the only place that we're working. We've got some roots into the Cosmos ecosystem as well, as an example. And Bitcoin, obviously, like it makes me very happy to see people building on Bitcoin again. It was kind of slow there for a while in like 2018, 2019, and it's like all of a sudden Taproot comes out and this happens and people are excited again. Did you want to show off this demo? We did show some videos that you had sent me earlier today, a couple times. So there may or may not be a duplicate in here, but I say go for it.
Yeah, well, I can't stream because it fucks up my computer every time. So, Lonnie, if you want to try the first link, if you've seen the second link, which is the content that we were showing, we'll give you a little bit more of a taste as to sort of the location and how we're trying to get in front of audiences outside of Web3 to get our content and content from the Web3 community in front of new people that are going to be interested in new shit.
All right. Give me just 1 second to switch things around. All right. And I will say that I am going to turn the audio off because that doesn't tend to
come that's fine.
Particularly well.
I'll happily narrate live.
There we go.
Let's get the subtitles going, and we can put a karaoke song behind it.
It's a very good point. So what we have here is the Sunset Marquee Hotel. So the Sunset Marquee is a fascinating place. It's been the home of rock and roll and content creation in West Hollywood for the past 50 years. It is owned by a close friend and an investor in a previous endeavor. The gentleman also owns the Raleigh Studios in just opposite the Paramount lots in Hollywood. And he's a great gentleman. And they were kind enough to let me take over the Morrison Hotel Gallery inside the Sunset Marquee with a lot of very cool tech. So what we have here is, of course, what we're basically going to be demonstrating over at SIGGRAPH. But we've been doing this in a slightly more exclusive private area for people to be able to come in and actually get hands-on time without it being in the hustle and bustle of the show floor. Now, unfortunately, the camera that we're filming this with was too wide to be able to fit through the lens to see the Frogland stuff that we're showing off on here. So there was a second video, which I think you may have already seen. Perfect, fantastic. So, but I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into sort of the area. And I think the coolest thing is this cost us absolutely nothing. The gentleman's a great friend of ours. And to be able to, I think it's important because I've seen a lot of people going out wasting a lot of money on things that may or may not be helpful. But that is never our style. It never has been, nor will it ever be. We are bootstrappers, and we live the startup culture. And so what we have here is one of the most prestigious galleries in one of the most prestigious hotels in Hollywood, with our tech and with Frogland content all over the bloody walls, which I was pretty damn impressed with, because it's been pretty cool stuff. I mean, if anyone were to Google the Sunset Marquee, I mean, just the whole Wikipedia backstory about this place. It was going to be the Playboy Mansion until Mark's father didn't want to take a loan from Jimmy Hoffa. But there's a wonderful piece of history about this place. And
oh my God.
It's crazy. I really am looking forward to showing you all what is working on this board, but that we will save probably for a fun little piece at the event. But yeah, as you can see, we have different panels, we have different displays. These are all holographic panels plugged into a curve, plugged into our partner's Tilt 5 glasses, and allows us to walk around for the first time untethered. And so here, the only thing people are looking at are some fucking beautiful frogs and maybe a salamander or two. I'm not going to lie.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, it's a great demo. I mean, I said earlier in the call, I just got my unit. I haven't had a chance to get it all set up yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. So let's keep moving. We got a couple more things we want to get through here, before looking forward. And we've been on for almost an hour and a half now. So one other technical area that we're looking at is AI audio and speech synthesis. This technology is very, very young, but we've seen some really, really interesting stuff emerging here. And the idea basically would be that like you as an IP holder, a content creator, would be able to contract with somebody to do some voice acting. We can train a model on that. You can assign a residual for anything that's flowing your way for that particular person that you've contracted with, and then you can develop speech for that character without necessarily having to go back for every single line of dialogue. We think that's going to be really, really powerful. There's some products that are doing that, but of course we want to work with open source software. So as that open source software develops, that's something that we're exploring right now. We've also been looking at virtual production and building a virtual stage in Unreal Engine. And so we think that virtual production is one of the ways that distributed content, decentralized content is going to get built at a pretty high level, so that not everything has to be on the ground on a soundstage in Hollywood. You do certain parts of that there, but you can set up a virtual stage with virtual cameras in a virtual environment and blend some of the live action footage and things like that, and some of these techniques that Shrimp has got a very, very deep experience in working with and working with traditional media and things like that. It's a little bit too early to say exactly what we're doing on that, but I will say we're going to try to showcase one of the biomes as a means for how that is going to come together and how we can demonstrate that technology. And then, of course, the blockchain token economy infrastructure stuff, some of which we just talked about with ordinals and some of the things we're looking at there. Eigenlayer is another thing that's a major focus for us right now. Liquid staking tokens are very interesting as well, and some of the emergent standards that are coming out around like smart contract wallets, account abstraction, NFTs, being able to own other NFTs in a very easy and composable way, potentially running our own layer 3 so that we can decentralize our infrastructure, which keeps costs down and gives people in the community the ability to make sure that these worlds that we're building are autonomous and that they're unstoppable, basically. So that's pretty much all of the major content we had for this one. We've got some looking forward. The last thing I want to leave you with here is like just a quick call to action of like everything that we've covered here is, and like everything that we're building, is very much focused around community and people having a good time, right? And so like if you want to know how you can help, that's just come and hang out in the Discord, have a good time, tell us what we're doing right, tell us what we're doing wrong. Engaging on social media, of course, and then creating AI images with AI blocks, trying to turn those things into stories and backstories and characters, and those sorts of things. The lore framework stuff that we're working on right now is going to help make that a little bit easier. Short form video content on the socials is always appreciated. Of course, like, longer form Twitter threads and that sort of stuff. And then, just helping us reach into your own communities that you're a part of, whether that's inside of Web3 or outside. What other cool stuff are other people doing that maybe we haven't heard of? Who would like to hear about what we're doing? And then, in the traditional world beyond Web3, like, anything out there, just showing people the game. Total is playable now as long as you have a wallet without a frog. And so, like, if you connect your wallet with a wallet that does not have a frog in it, you'll see all of the frogs that we have in the multi-sig. And so the player can play with that, but you're still earning proto assets directly into your own wallet, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's an experiment of where we're trying to make this distinction between accruing value to a player versus accruing value to a character, right? Mm-hmm. And experimenting with that. And so, like, we're curious what your guys' feedback is on that and if that's helpful and those sorts of things too. So yeah, that was everything I had. Lolly, Snoop, do you have anything else you want to say?
I think that's pretty much it.
That was a lot. I'm gonna add one thing that, again, a huge part of, I think, what we're trying to do here is, like, decentralization is a word that's banded around far too often in this space. And we look at some metaverse applications that may be coming out soon that may have had a lot of money spent on them. And you begin to look at the underlying technology that powers them. And you begin to realize that this underlying technology scales very difficult for a lot of players in the space, because while it's a great initial polished, shiny demo, is that technology built to be able to stand the test of time, to last as long as Bitcoin could? And this is a question that I don't think enough people actually ask with how things are built and how technology actually operates. I'm being very cryptic here for a very specific reason, but the way that we've been building all of our technology ultimately has been a way to bring everything, not necessarily everything on chain, but everything decentralized, because we feel centralization is not the way to go. And we will probably hear some news in the next year or two that will probably shake the earth to the core, that I've seen coming a long time ago. And I'm not going to say anything too publicly yet. I will point things out after the fact, but nothing we have to worry about, I'm happy to say, because of the directions I think that we're taking that a lot of other people haven't. And so please excuse the cryptic nature of this, but I've seen a lot of what's coming out recently, and it makes me extra bullish on what we're actually building here. So
yeah, I mean, we can resonate that without having to be cryptic, and just the way that we're building everything, building in the open and working in public, right? And then opening up the entire process, both in the content production side, and then also in the hardware that we're building and the tools that we're using to manifest that content on there, like Unity, for example, right? Which has got a ton of support. Obviously, exploring with Unreal Engine as well, but like putting all this stuff in a way where we can eventually open source just about everything that we're working on, I think makes it so that no matter what happens to us, this project can survive the test of time, because really that long game, in my opinion, like that's where we have the opportunity to really disrupt industries and, build brands that can outlive all of us. That's really compelling to me personally.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
exciting stuff.
yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, let's call it here. It's an hour and a half. It's a lot for taking a month off.
Yeah. Funny how that works.
Definitely stand by. We'll be teasing in some images and some bits and pieces over the course of the next few days at the conference. It's going to be a little hectic, but I'm hoping people are coming down to give me a hand, so we should be good. But it should be a fun few days, and we look forward to the next town hall, where we're going to have all sorts of more interesting updates. The next town hall is going to be a particularly good one, I think. So we look forward to seeing you all then.
All right. Ribbit, everyone.
Ribbit.
All right. Bye, guys. See you.